Here at Mountain View Lodge. We're here in 2007 when the sign had a lovely glowing neon sign that would light up at night time, but obviously that hasn't lasted. Anyway, we're just going to go across out the front and to the right to this swamp that was there last time we were here, but we were here I think it was September, early October or something back then. It's now early April sort of thing. I tried putting the battery momentarily next to my ball sack, but I think it needs a little bit of time to make it work, so yeah, there you go. Well, that's basically the same I think as last time. Oh, what was it? 42.36. Okay. Okay. Yep. Okay. If I remember rightly, we just went down here a little bit, and then we turned left. There was something that showed you could just go off the road or something. Looks like they've had a bushfire in here though recently. Anyway, and then down there, somewhere on the right-hand side, there's a bit of a swamp or something. So we went further down, found some witty garage and things like that, sort of almost submerged. But on this side, we found auriculatas, I think, colourful ones, and a few glids and things. But yeah. So I don't know what I'm going to cut off, but I reckon it's going to be pretty dry in there now. So, but I thought I'd make the effort for you fellas, you know. I only had a 2 mega camera back then in 2007. In 2008 I got the Panasonic, the Power-SHOT one, which is quite good because if you go to those photographs that are online, if it's been taken with the Power-SHOT, you can click on it, double click the image, and it will give you a 3D move around effect where you move to different parts of the picture and they come into focus. It almost gives you a 3D effect. If you go on the glid, all the glid ones I did, things like that, if they've been taken with the Power-SHOT, they all do this magical 3D effect when you double click on them, and yeah. So you click on them first time, and that takes to the separate page where you get to see the photograph. Then if you double click it a second time, it'll get even larger, but you can move around the picture sort of thing, and everything you move around to becomes focused. Yeah, it's quite a good. That's why it's called the Power-SHOT. But no one really explained that to people, that was a. I mean, if they told people that would be a fantastic selling point. Anyway. We might just make a push on it. Yeah, special precautions because it is this time of year, So we'll go in and we'll just have a push on through. You never know. Might discover something in flower at the wrong time of the year. No one ever bothers to come in. No, everything's dormant. Won't be a sundew growing now. It's too dry. And lo and behold, there's a new one there that no one's even known about, because all the other rest of the time of the year, if it's underground and it's dormant or something, only pokes its head up about now sort of thing. You never know. I'm the ever hopeful, I'm the king of wishful thinking, as they say. Yeah. I think it was in there. This patch in here looks like that was it or something. A few trees have grown up in the last, 2007, 2017. That's 10 years. 16 years. coming on to 20, I suppose. And that smell of smoke that you can't smell on the other side of the GFC wall, well, that's not from these threes, that's coming from their back burning. There was some warning signs that went up this morning saying if you smell smoke, that's us back burning. And I did see one today, and we saw one yesterday in the distance, It's quite a substantial fire, but it was a back burn, Well, we got the old ever CP Weed Associates. Always a good sign. Tea tree and evergreen swamp vegetation here and there, and lovely grey silvery sand soil. I always talk about silver sand, lots of charcoal in the area. It doesn't last long on damp ground, and there's few reports of koalas coming in coughing up lumps of coke. So where does it go, fellas? How does it break down so quickly into the landscape? Is there a particular organism that's its food source? It eats nothing but charcoal, and yet we're slow to twig about this. Or scientists are keeping it stum. Yeah. Yeah, I'm buggered. I've already done 4 hours of filming, basically. Burned up my battery today. I'm using my partner's battery out of her camera. But I don't think it's got quite enough pixie dust in it for me to set the settings properly. I might just end this clip, put it in my pocket for a good 5 or 10 minutes like I did with the last one, and see if it does set the settings. Then I'll know the trick is to put it in your pocket next to your ball sack for 5 or 10 minutes, and that will allow the battery to warm up and allow you to set those settings for high dynamics, high resolution, which is what you want. But yeah, lovely soil. As you said, during the wet, you'll find all sorts of, auriculata, peltata types on here, colourful ones too. You'll find the glid and pygmia. We found pygmia on here. If it is just pygmia, as I said, there's a lot of variation now. We've discovered the smallest sundry in the world, Drossomicara. The average size is half your little fingernail. The whole plant at average size is half your little fingernail. Most people say, what are you going on about? I'm saying the average size of a Drossomicara is half your little fingernail. In other words, it's a quarter of the size of a standard pygmia, which is like the size of a 10-cent coin. Your occidentalis, which is the size of your standard 5-cent coin. And this is so it's a quarter of a pygmia. It's half the size of occidentalis, basically. And as I said, the average size is half your little fingernail. So that's the whole plant with all its traps is half the size of your little fingernail. And people wonder why I'm going on about it. I say, it's the smallest sundry in the world. Can you find me something that's smaller? The whole plant is that size with all its traps. Now, how are you going to photograph all the little snap balls on those little tentacles that are on those little traps? Yeah, you're going to have some high-powered photography. But there are some people out there with high-powered photographic machinery. They might want to put Drossomicara under the focal point because, you never know, you might get a shock. Because I know the snap balls on the end of things like Ericsson's Emissa, which sort of goes through like 4 stages of its trap evolution. They're quite substantial, and they really stand out. They're almost like chestnuts. What is that game they play with chestnuts? Conkers, I think they call it. They a bit like that, because that goes like through 4 stages from its seedling stage, at least 4. And as I said, I came across some sundry in the Grampians, not the Grampians, in the Stirling Ranges back in 2018, completely different architecture for a Pygmy sun I'd never seen before. But then again, it could be one of these ones that goes through a number of stages. It could be one that goes through like the 6 stages, I don't know. And I just happened to be there when it was on the 4th stage or the 5th stage, I don't know. But it definitely, I'd never seen a Pygmy sundew that looked quite like that. But then again, as I say, you walk through the Stirling Ranges every half a kilometre, every 500 metres, half a kilometre. Half the species will be different, and if you walk on another half a kilometre or 500 metres, again, half the species will be different yet again. And that just keeps going and going and going as you go through the Stirling Ranges. So the odds of you finding something totally different out there are pretty high, I would say. And I did see something that I've never seen before. And this is coming from the person who stumbled across that the most common sundew in southern, well, Abbottland as we call it now, southern Australia. Yeah, Tony Abbott, former Prime Minister, failed priest, aka Dr. No. As I said, we spent 10 years of doing nothing, and then Bob Brown went up into Queensland and we got an extra 3 years on top. Thank you very much. I don't know why they didn't keep him down in the basement with the masking tape over his big mouth, but he's still trying to Adam banter and seem to have some sort of communication going on. Adam, shut the bloody walkie-talkie off. You don't want to listen to him. He gave us an extra 3 years we didn't have to have. We've had 13 years because of you couldn't settle a deal with Julia Gillard basically, and then Tony Abbott sort of wiped it all out again straight after. And guess what? The Liberals just lost a seat in Melbourne. After 100 years, historic loss. So there you go. So all the mainland states of Australia are now Labor. The only holdout is Tasmania. And that might change next time, I don't know. And the Libs don't know what to do, because I reckon the country party people are going to wake up pretty soon. If they don't decouple themselves, from the Liberals, they're going to die with the Liberals. And don't farmers believe in climate change? I would have thought that farmers believe in climate change. You know, it's important to their study and growth of crops, you know. So I would have thought they would have been into climate change. And wouldn't they love all this lovely solar power on the farm? You can have solar panels on roofs of all your outhouses and everything, running everything, you know, for basically almost free, basically. I'm sure you could get a government subsidy to put it on the roof. Very low interest free loan or something like that. Run it to some batteries or something. I'm sure you've had some experience with some of these cattle watering stations out there run on solar power. You can run a little small greenhouse and grow your feed in there, all solar powered, you know, a little water pump going there, it's all solar powered, keeping your feed. Green feed is a lot better than dry brown feed. You can have it all solar powered and everything. As I said, they found out with all these GPS coordinates that they can split the NPK up in and save a farmer $300,000 per season. That's a saving on the fertiliser, the $300,000. Yeah, that's $300,000 you got in your back pocket to do something else. I mean, I think about these things, so if I'm thinking about these things, what are you thinking on your side of the political bullshit, you know? I know. Anyway, so the way things are going, I met someone in the Grampians today from South Africa, and he was quite surprised that I knew that they were only having 4 hours of electricity per day, and they had to find out which 4 hours that was going to be that day. He was pretty surprised. I said, yeah, we're all clued in now. We're just waiting for the revolutions to happen around the world, because, you know, we've seen the whole of Sri Lanka being fucked over in a single year by Klaus Schwab, member, the head of the WEF, yes. And we had a quick chat about, you know, Munich, the way the Israel Prime Minister basically put out a fatwa on all those people involved in Munich, and she sent a death squad around the world to wipe them out. Blank check she gave them, said, nah, blank check, whatever it costs, we're going to take them out. And she did. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's going to happen. I reckon Sri Lanka's going to send out some death squads to get Klaus Schwab, because he's basically fucked over a whole country. They're having to scrimp and save, and it's terrible over there. And now we're having similar sort of things starting to happen in South Africa, so you never know. It might be a team of countries putting a death squad together to get all these weapons in, sort of thing. You just fly around the world undercover, and we've just had some bloody Russian internet reporter blown up today. They gave him a statue or something. I think it was filled with explosives or something. Anyway. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it's probably my rant for the holiday. put it that way. But yeah, it might kick off in America and spread around the whole world. Yeah, you do not want Donald Trump to be slain or something like that, because that will set things ago. If you actually take their democratic way out of it, it will definitely be a civil war of some sort. And I don't know, you don't want to stumble on the fact that maybe he's got two doubles or something. Yeah. Because then you might find out there are other doubles around with other politicians, and yeah, it's funny how all these people keep taking out. And I think the only way I can think of it, that how you could take out people, is someone really famous turns up at their house that you recognise instantly as being a famous person, like a Brad Pitt or something, turns up at your doorstep, and he's the actual state executioner, and you don't know it. You just think it's a very famous person you've never seen in real life before and got to see them, but when they turn up on the doorstep, you just let your guard down, sort of thing. So that might be the case. Hollywood is just a whole load of state executioners, basically. That's what they do in their off time, and that's how they got into the business in the first place. They were given that sort of status, and they maintain it by every now and again taking out the people the deep state want you to take out. Doing the dirty work for the other people that seem to walk through life scot-free. That's the only way I can think about that it would work, Like a Paul McCartney turns up at your doorstep. Oh yeah, bloody well, it's definitely Paul McCartney. You just let your guard down. I don't think it would be called Paul McCartney. It's one of these lesser known ones. Anyway, that's about it for this one, I think. Obviously, I don't know, I might make another one and walk onto the other side. There was some sort of swamp in here. Yeah, let me try that. I'll turn the camera off, put the battery in my ball sack for a while and warm it up and see what happens on the other side of the road. Okay, see ya.